All right. Now, a lot of people ask me about this. I want to get my thoughts on it. So here we are. As some of you guys probably already know, and if you're reading the title of this video, I guess you know now, Ruby Rose left Batwoman, even though it was renewed for this upcoming season. So I'm guessing they're going to be replacing her. And before I give my thoughts, I guess we can go into why she ended up leaving. Says that she was unhappy with long hours and stuff of that nature. Also, it seems that she may have had some mental health issues that she was struggling with, possibly. And it seems like they're seeking someone else to replace her. And the second season comes back in January. Now, I'm not really sure. Some of you guys probably educate me in the comment section if they've already shot some of the stuff with her, the rest of the season or anything like. I'm not sure how that works, or if they're going to do the new season with shooting the new actress that they're looking to cast. Okay, so oops, wrong panel. All right, so where I'm at with it, and Batwoman is an interesting thing because they set themselves up for failure. We've been documenting it here on this channel in terms of the direction that they took right out the gate. It's some of the questionable trailer that they put out initially. Now, I'm not just griping about it because as a guy that's like maybe hadn't seen it or anything like that. No, I've watched the show and I've come up with some reviews on this channel that you are more than welcome to check out. And what ended up dooming this show and where it took a turn for the absolute worst, 'cause I could tolerate it as it was going on. Yes, I have my gripes with Luke Fox, but aside from that, I could deal with much of it. But what was, I guess, maybe inevitable was this whole hyper emphasis, right, on her, sexuality and so forth. And I guess you knew that was coming, but I'm not gonna dog it until it happened. And then it happened, and I did a video on it. And I was like, here we go. And then which we're going in this direction where this is dominating everything. And it's really a dead giveaway. Not sure who the writers are that were associated with all of that, but it's a dead giveaway of the direction that they wanted to go. And it's a lot of Supergirl type of it. It's a little more, it's darker, obviously, considering where it's at, but it's a little dark. It's darker, slightly better, but than Supergirl, but it's still what it is. It is what I'd imagine in blue checkmark leftist in show form. And it was doomed. It doomed itself from the start, but then it for sure did itself in with the direction that they were taking the actual show. Now, the Ruby Rose replacement thing is irrelevant to that because Ruby Rose, now her impact on the storyline, the direction of the show, I'm not sure. But the problem isn't her or just her. Let's just say that. Because there are writers, and no matter if they replace her with the most awesome actress who could do a more accurate depiction of Batwoman, it doesn't matter if the writing is still trash. It doesn't matter. It simply doesn't matter who they put in there. That's the core issue. Now, will her exit incentivize them to try to get this back on the road? I have no idea. Only time will tell. But I will say that the issue never was, and with a lot of these shows, it's never just them. It's now, again, I've like, for example, I was really put on game when I did that interview with Jen and Sylvia Soska about working, they've been producers, they've been directors and so forth, and working with different actresses and actors and that sort of dynamic. So it may be a case to where she was heavily influential in that regards, in the direction. I'm not sure. I don't really know. I'm not going to pretend like I know. All I can do is sit up here and just tell you guys that my issues with it, which I've documented in videos, previous reviews, if the writing in itself isn't fixed, then her exit means nothing. And that's an easy way out. Like we can say, oh, I hated this actor, I hated this actress, to get them out. Then they replace it with so-and-so, and then it's like all good. Where, yeah, I mean, in this regards, it doesn't really matter who they put in there. If the direction is still the direction that they're going to go in, it's just not going to be any good. And that's unfortunate, because I've ranted and raved about how, for example, Batwoman in post Rebirth, so Rebirth and up until now, so we did DC Universe. Batwoman is one of the better handled characters, certainly better handled tokenized characters. I mean, comic books during that era. So you're talking about 2016 and beyond, or up until now. So 4 years. Definitely, if you read Detective Comics, like that was one of the more Bat family Detective Comics. Rebirth Detective Comics, man, is just, I've talked about how it was my favorite comic book, but also Batwoman being a part of it, and she was just one of the better handled characters in the way that they handled her. Seeing that dynamic, the difference between her and Batman, and so forth. And when the whole Clayface thing popped off, and I'm not going to give the whole entire narrative away, but well, maybe if you've seen my reviews, you know. But seeing her willing to do something that Batman's not, because of who she is, and where she comes from, with a militaristic background and so forth, and a father, and all of this sort of thing that you even see sort of play out within Batwoman the show, right? You've seen some of that play out, but the hyper emphasis on sexuality, or in this sort of advocacy, the social justice, it's like what happens is it drives the narrative, and that's an issue. And I've talked about how when you deal with some of these other characters, specifically straight white men, because they don't have some social ill to fall back on, all the writers are focusing on is the actual narrative, is the actual story. And this is why some of them have stuck. It's not it's not because they're white and straight. That's not what it is. It's the fact that the best of the best in terms of the writers are focusing on story, on focusing on character development more than anything else, because they don't have that social ill to fall back on like you do with some of these marginalized groups, which ends up, okay, well, this person is black, they have to struggle with race. So predictable, right? This person's this has a sexuality. There's going to be some hyper emphasis on her sexuality in terms of if she's lesbian or bisexual or something of that nature. And it's like, it's predictable, but it does limit the character to that. And what we saw in Batwoman, it drove the narrative. I mean, they dedicated an entire episode for this. I mean, that's when it sort of went off the rails. And I'm sitting here like, the potential's there if you just focused on building that character, not worrying about the other stuff. That doesn't mean that you can't depict a lesbian relationship or something of that nature. I've said that it's not that. It's the hyper emphasis that makes it almost unbearable and predictable. We know it's coming. We know that this character is going to have this hyper emphasis on their sexuality or race, or something like that, and it makes for a very predictable narrative. People were calling this stuff out long before the show even came out, just because of who they knew who Batwoman was, and you saw some of the marketing and so forth. People were already predicting that. I wasn't willing to confirm that it was because I hadn't seen it. Y'all know I don't do that stuff. I don't sit up here and damn something just because it's of any ilk. No matter how it looks, I'll give it a shot. And if it does turn out that that's the case, I call it out. That's just what it is. But Ruby Rose is the least of the problem, unless she was the driving force. Now, if she's the driving force, maybe she's the head honcho. But the core issue here is not Ruby Rose. It's the narrative. It's not the actress, it's the narrative. I know some of y'all think she can't act her way out of a paper sack, and maybe, but when you consider who Batwoman is, she's not the most extravagant character in terms of her personality. So it almost works to her advantage if you know who Batwoman is. But nonetheless, I understand why some people are like fist pumping me. It's like, look, you got a core issue here. And if you're continuing to bring on people that lead with their advocacy and make the narrative or the story the actual TV show, is blue checkmark leftism on Twitter in show form. If that's what you're looking for, you can put Boo Boo the Fool or Homie the Clown or Boo Boo the Clown, either one of those, as the actress or actor or the lead role, and you still have the same issue if you do not address that writing.